Let me ask you something personal. When you woke up this morning, before you did anything else, what was the first thing you reached for? For most of the patients I see, the answer is coffee. And I understand, completely. There's something almost sacred about that first cup, the smell, the warmth, the ritual of it. But here's what I want you to know, and I'm saying this as someone who has spent decades working with adults over 60. Your body in the morning, after 60, is not the same as it was at 35. The way you absorb fluids has changed. The way your cortisol responds to caffeine has changed. The way your gut, your joints, your heart, and even your brain respond to what you put in them first thing in the morning, it's all different. And that means what you start your day with matters more now than it ever has before. Today I'm going to share with you the 5 best morning drinks for people over 60. These aren't trendy wellness fads. Every single one of them has real science behind it, and I've seen real results in real patients. Most of them cost almost nothing, and by the end of this video, you'll have a practical, simple plan to give your body a better start every single day. I'm not asking you to give up coffee forever. I'm asking you to hear me out first. Let's get started. I'm Dr. Leonid Kim, and welcome to Senior Health Review, the channel where we talk honestly about health, nutrition, and what actually works after 60. Before we dive in, a quick but important note. Everything I share here is for educational purposes. I'm not your personal physician, and nothing in this video should replace the advice of your own doctor, especially if you're managing a chronic condition or taking medications. Some of the drinks we discuss today do have interactions worth knowing about, and I'll flag each one as we go. Alright, let's talk about what your body actually needs in that first hour after you wake up. The first drink on our list is the simplest one, and honestly, the one I recommend most often as a starting point: warm lemon water. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Warm lemon water? That's it? Stay with me because there's more happening here than it looks. Here's the science. When you sleep, even a good 7 or 8 hours, your body loses fluid. You're breathing, you're perspiring slightly, your kidneys are still working. By the time you open your eyes in the morning, you are already in a mild state of dehydration. And after 60, your thirst mechanism becomes less reliable. Your body doesn't send the "I'm thirsty" signal as loudly or as early as it used to. That means many older adults are running through their entire morning already behind on hydration, and they don't even feel it. That dehydration has consequences. It affects your blood viscosity, which affects blood pressure. It affects your energy, your concentration, your digestion, and even your mood. So the very first thing you can do to serve your body after 60 is simply rehydrate it. Gently, warmly. Now, why warm? Warm water is gentler on your digestive system than cold water first thing in the morning. It helps stimulate the digestive tract without shocking it. And adding lemon juice gives you a small but meaningful boost of vitamin C, which supports your immune system and helps your body absorb iron from foods later in the day. Lemon also has a mild alkalizing effect once it's metabolized, and it gently stimulates bile production in the liver, which supports digestion. One of my patients, a 67-year-old retired school teacher named Margaret, came to me frustrated. She was waking up stiff every morning, her digestion felt sluggish, and she said she always felt behind before the day even started. I suggested something almost embarrassingly simple: a glass of warm water with half a lemon every morning before anything else, before coffee, before breakfast. She came back 6 weeks later and told me, "Dr. Kim, I don't know if it's the lemon or just the water, but something changed. My mornings feel less heavy." Her morning stiffness had noticeably improved, her digestion was more regular, and she said she just felt more alert before her coffee even brewed. Could it all be placebo? Maybe partly, but hydration at the cellular level is not placebo. its physiology. How to prepare it. 8 to 12 ounces of warm water, not boiling, just comfortably warm. Squeeze in the juice of half a fresh lemon. Drink it slowly, ideally about 15 to 20 minutes before eating breakfast. One caution. If you have GERD or acid reflux, citrus on an empty stomach can be irritating. Try a smaller amount and see how your body responds. And if you're drinking this daily, using a straw to protect your tooth enamel is a smart habit. The second drink is one you may already be familiar with, but probably not for all the right reasons. Green tea. Now I want to be clear, green tea does contain caffeine, so if you were hoping for a completely caffeine-free list, this one isn't that. But here's the key difference between green tea and coffee when it comes to your morning. It's not just about how much caffeine you're getting, it's about what else comes with it. Green tea contains a compound called L-theanine, an amino acid that has a genuinely fascinating relationship with caffeine in the brain. L-theanine promotes what researchers describe as a calm, focused alertness. It takes the edge off caffeine stimulation without dulling the mental clarity. The result, for most people, is a steadier, gentler kind of energy. No spike, no crash, no jitters. That matters enormously after 60. As we age, our cardiovascular system becomes more sensitive to rapid changes in heart rate and blood pressure. High doses of caffeine, especially on an empty stomach, which is how many people drink their morning coffee, can cause a sharper cortisol spike and a more pronounced cardiovascular response. For someone managing hypertension or heart arrhythmia, that's worth thinking about. Green tea also contains EGCG, epigallocatechin gallate, which is one of the most studied antioxidant compounds in nutrition. Research has linked EGCG to anti-inflammatory effects, support for healthy cholesterol levels, and even potential cognitive protective effects. A long-running body of research from Japan, where green tea consumption is among the highest in the world and cognitive decline rates among the lowest, continues to generate interesting questions about that connection. One of my patients, a 71-year-old retired Army veteran named Robert, came to me after his cardiologist flagged slightly elevated blood pressure. We talked about his morning routine, and the first thing he mentioned was 3 cups of strong black coffee before 9 a.m. I suggested he try replacing at least the first cup with green tea for a few weeks. He was skeptical. He told me he thought green tea tasted like hot lawn water. He came back a month later and told me he'd found a brand he actually liked. And then he said something I've heard before from patients who make this switch. "Doc, I actually feel more focused in the mornings now, just without the jitters." His blood pressure readings at his follow-up had also improved, not dramatically, but meaningfully. How to prepare it. 1 tea bag or about 1 teaspoon of loose-leaf green tea. Water temperature matters, around 170 to 180 degrees Fahrenheit, not a full boil. Boiling water can make green tea bitter and also degrade some of the beneficial compounds. Steep for 2 to 3 minutes. You can add a small amount of honey if you need sweetness. One caution. Green tea still contains roughly 30 to 50 milligrams of caffeine per cup, less than half of a typical coffee, but not 0. If you're sensitive to caffeine or have trouble sleeping, be mindful of how much you drink and when. And if you're on warfarin or any blood-thinning medication, check with your doctor. Green tea can have mild effects on clotting. Our third morning drink is one that surprises almost every patient I mention it to: tart cherry juice. Not sweet cherry juice, not cherry-flavored anything. Tart cherry juice, the kind made from Montmorency cherries, and it is one of the most underused nutritional tools I know of for adults dealing with inflammation, joint pain, and disrupted sleep. Here's what's happening inside tart cherries that makes them so interesting. They contain high concentrations of anthocyanins, the pigments that give them their deep red color. Anthocyanins are powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. Research published in peer-reviewed nutrition journals has shown that tart cherry consumption can significantly reduce markers of systemic inflammation in older adults. For anyone managing arthritis, gout, or general joint stiffness, that's not a small thing. Tart cherries also contain natural melatonin, your body's own sleep hormone. While the amounts aren't enormous, studies have found that regular tart cherry juice consumption is associated with improved sleep duration and quality. Some of my patients drink a small amount in the evening for this reason specifically, but drinking it in the morning also contributes to your body's overall melatonin regulation cycle. And for patients managing gout, tart cherry has shown particular promise. The anthocyanins appear to help lower uric acid levels, the compound responsible for gout flares, and several studies have found that regular cherry consumption is associated with a meaningful reduction in gout attacks. I want to tell you about a patient named Dorothy. She was 68, and she came to me specifically about her knees. Every morning, she said, getting out of bed felt like negotiating with her body. She tried various supplements and nothing made a clear difference. I suggested she try a diluted tart cherry juice twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening, for a month. No other changes. 3 weeks in, she called my office. She said, "I don't know exactly what changed, but mornings feel different. There's less dread getting out of bed." That's not a clinical trial, but I've heard variations of that story from patients more times than I can count. How to prepare it. Look for unsweetened tart cherry juice concentrate, not the sweetened bottled versions, which are high in added sugar. Mix 1 to 2 ounces of concentrate with 6 to 8 ounces of water. It's tart, it's supposed to be. That tartness is the flavonoids working. One caution. Tart cherry juice does contain natural sugars, so if you're managing diabetes or insulin resistance, monitor your blood sugar response carefully. It can also interact with blood-thinning medications at high doses, so mention it to your doctor if that applies to you. Our fourth drink is one that has been used in traditional medicine for thousands of years and has, in recent decades, become one of the most studied compounds in nutritional science: golden milk, also known as a turmeric latte. I know, some of you just pictured a sign outside a yoga studio. Bear with me. The active compound in turmeric is curcumin, and curcumin has accumulated one of the most impressive research profiles of any food-derived compound when it comes to inflammation. Dozens of human clinical studies have now looked at curcumin's effects on inflammatory markers, joint pain, and even cognitive function. The results aren't perfect. Curcumin is notoriously difficult for the body to absorb. But here's the trick that changes everything: black pepper. Adding just a pinch of black pepper to your golden milk increases curcumin absorption by approximately 2,000%. That's not a typo. The piperine in black pepper essentially opens the door for curcumin to enter your bloodstream. This is a combination that traditional Ayurvedic medicine figured out centuries ago and that Western research has since confirmed. For adults over 60 dealing with chronic joint pain, stiffness, or any inflammatory condition, regular curcumin intake via food, not necessarily supplements, is something worth discussing with your doctor. And when you make golden milk with warm dairy or oat milk, you're also getting a gentle, calming drink that many people find helps them ease into the morning without the cortisol jolt of coffee. Let me tell you about Frank. He was 74, a retired contractor, the kind of man who'd spent decades on his knees doing physical work, and it showed in his joints. When I mentioned golden milk, he looked at me like I'd suggested he take up ballet. That sounds like something my granddaughter would drink, he told me. I told him, Frank, try it for 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks. Call it an experiment. He called me a month later, not to report a miraculous recovery, but to ask me what brand of turmeric I recommended, because he'd decided it was now part of his morning routine. He said the change in his morning stiffness was gradual but real. And then he told me, it's actually become my favorite part of the morning, which I did not expect to be saying. How to prepare it. In a small saucepan, warm 1 cup of your preferred milk, dairy, oat, almond, whatever you prefer. Add 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, do not skip this, and optionally a 1/4 teaspoon each of ground ginger and cinnamon. Sweeten lightly with honey if needed. Stir well and drink while warm. One caution. At culinary doses, meaning as a food ingredient, not as a high-dose supplement, turmeric is very safe for most people. However, at supplement-level doses, curcumin can interact with blood thinners and diabetes medications. Stick to the food form, and if you're considering curcumin supplements, discuss them with your doctor first. Our 5th and final morning drink is one that fewer people think of as a morning beverage, but I've come to believe it may be one of the most impactful additions you can make to your morning routine after 60. Plain kefir. Kefir is a fermented milk drink, similar to drinkable yogurt, but with a far more diverse range of probiotic bacterial strains. And the reason this matters so much specifically after 60 comes down to a system in your body that most people dramatically underestimate: your gut microbiome. Here's what's happening. As we age, the diversity of our gut bacteria naturally decreases. We lose beneficial strains, the balance shifts, and the consequences ripple outward in ways that researchers are only now beginning to fully document. Your gut microbiome isn't just running your digestion. It is intimately connected to your immune system. Roughly 70% of your immune tissue lives in and around your gut. It is connected to your mood through what scientists call the gut-brain axis. The vagus nerve carries constant two-way communication between your gut and your brain. It influences inflammation levels throughout your body. It affects how efficiently you absorb nutrients from the food you eat. In short, what's happening in your gut in the morning is affecting your energy, your mood, your immune function, and your mental clarity for the rest of the day. And after 60, that system needs more support than it used to. Kefir provides a large, diverse dose of live probiotic bacteria, along with protein, calcium, B vitamins, and phosphorus. It's one of the most complete probiotic foods available, and unlike probiotic supplements, the bacteria in fermented foods tend to survive the journey through your digestive tract more reliably. My patient Helen was 66, and she came to me with a cluster of complaints that didn't have an obvious single cause: persistent bloating, low energy throughout the morning, and what she called foggy mornings, that feeling of not quite being present or sharp until well into the afternoon. After reviewing everything, I suggested she start her day with 4 to 6 ounces of plain, unsweetened kefir. No other changes initially. A month later, she came back for a follow-up. She sat down and said, "I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I'm waking up feeling like myself again. The fog isn't there the same way." Was it entirely the kefir? We can't know for certain. But the research on gut health and cognitive clarity, mood, and energy in older adults is compelling and growing. And plain kefir is safe, inexpensive, and genuinely nutrient-dense. It's a low-risk, high-potential addition for most people over 60. How to prepare it: 4 to 6 ounces of plain, unsweetened kefir. Look for full-fat or low-fat, not non-fat, which tends to have added sugar for flavor. Drink it straight, blend it into a smoothie, or have it alongside your breakfast. If you'd like it slightly sweeter, add a small drizzle of honey or some fresh berries. One caution: many people who are lactose intolerant can actually tolerate kefir well because the fermentation process breaks down much of the lactose. But if you have a true dairy allergy, or if you've never had kefir before, start with a small amount and see how your body responds. As always, if you're immunocompromised, check with your doctor before adding any probiotic food. Alright, let's bring this together. We talked about 5 morning drinks that are genuinely worth adding to your routine after 60, and here's the quick summary. Number 1, warm lemon water, your simplest morning reset. Rehydrates your body after sleep, supports digestion, and gives your system a gentle head start before anything else. Number 2, green tea. A calmer, steadier energy than coffee, with L-theanine to smooth out the caffeine and EGCG for your heart and brain. Number 3, tart cherry juice. Powerful anti-inflammatory support for joints, gout, and sleep, from one of nature's most underused sources of anthocyanins. Number 4, golden milk. Curcumin plus black pepper equals one of the most effective natural anti-inflammatory combinations available in a warm, comforting drink. Number 5, kefir. Probiotic support for the gut microbiome that drives your immune system, your mood, your energy, and your mental clarity. Now, do you need to drink all 5 of these tomorrow? Absolutely not. Pick one. Start there. Give it 2 to 3 weeks and pay attention to how your body responds. Then maybe add a second. And you don't have to give up coffee. Many of my patients keep their coffee, they just move it later in the morning, after one of these drinks has had a chance to set the tone. Your body after 60 doesn't need less attention. It needs the right attention. And something as simple as what you drink in the first 15 minutes of your morning can be a genuinely meaningful place to start. I want to hear from you. Which one of these 5 are you going to try first? Leave your answer in the comments. Warm lemon water, green tea, tart cherry, golden milk, or kefir. I read every comment and I love hearing how these changes are actually landing for people in real life. If this video gave you something useful, please give it a like. It genuinely helps this channel reach other people over 60 who are looking for exactly this kind of practical, honest health information. And if you're new here, welcome. We post a new video every week focused entirely on health, nutrition, and aging well, just for people like you. I'm Dr. Leonid Kim. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.